In the German countryside, it's a quiet night, and a young woman is giving birth. She is by herself in a maternity home with clean white walls. This isn't just any nursing home, though. It's run by the Nazi government, and the birth of her child will help them reach their goal of making a master race. Her child is taken away, and she is left alone again. That wasn't the case, even though she thinks her child will grow up in a loving home. Anyhow, this is what many women and children in the Lebensborn program went through. It was a Nazi eugenics and racial hygiene program that tried to increase the birth rate of Aryan children by careful breeding. It is very disturbing what happened on these Nazi breeding farms. This is a dark part of history that should never be forgotten. Today, we'll look at the shocking facts of the Lebensborn program and how it changed society today. The sinister roots of the Lebensborn program. The Lebensborn program was a Nazi project launched with the intention of raising the birth rate of Aryan offspring. It is widely considered to be one of the most heinous acts that occurred throughout the Third Reich's history. In order to achieve the objective of producing a pure race, the program was responsible for the maltreatment of women and children, as well as the implementation of forced pregnancies. Lebensborn can be traced back to the early 1930s, when Heinrich Himmler, the chief of the SS, became more concerned about the dwindling birth rate of Aryan Germans. This was the beginning of Lebensborn. According to Himmler, the continuation of the German race was contingent upon the birth of a greater number of children who were considered to be pure German from birth. As a reaction, he initiated a program with the goal of increasing the number of children who are the racially pure variety. Munich was the location of the first Lebensborn facility, which was constructed in 1935. By 1939, there were over 20 Lebensborn houses located throughout Germany and other occupied regions such as Norway. When it first began, the program's primary objective was to offer financial assistance to single women who were expecting children from racially pure males. As a result of the perception that the children who were born into Lebensborn households were members of the master race, they were afforded preferential treatment in a variety of domains, including education, work, and other fields. Heinrich Himmler, the commander of the SS, and Gregor Ebner, who served as the administrative director of the Lebensborn program, were two of the most important persons involved in the operation. A number of other significant people were involved in the scheme. These persons included Dr. Karl Brandt, who was in charge of selecting women for the breeding program, and Dr. Leonard Conti, who was in charge of overseeing the medical services provided by the program. The individual who played the most significant part in the development and construction of this program was Himmler. He was actively involved in many of the day-to-day activities of the program and was the driving factor behind the expansion of the program for which he was responsible. In his capacity as administrative director of the initiative, Gregor Ebner was accountable for supervising the building and operation of Lebensborn homes. Additionally, he was in charge of the program's fundraising activities and the program's financial resources. While he was in charge of the program, it expanded at a substantial rate. The dark side of Nazi eugenics. An assortment of policies and methods, some of which were exceedingly upsetting and harsh, were utilized in order to accomplish the goals that Lebensborn had set for itself. One of the key measures that was utilized in order to accomplish the objectives of the program was the coercive immunization of females. Women who were considered to be racially pure were frequently selected to mate with men who were also considered to be racially pure, regardless of whether or not the men consented to the union. While some women were sexually assaulted, others were forced into sexual relationships against their will. Additionally, the Lebensborn program aimed to remove racially pure children from their families and communities in order to bring them up in homes that were purposefully structured to instill the philosophy of the Nazi Party. In addition to being subjected to severe physical and psychological abuse, Children who were brought up in Lebensborn homes were also brainwashed with Nazi propaganda about the Holocaust. In addition, a great number of youngsters were subjected to medical tests and sterilization without their will. One of the most important aspects of the Lebensborn program was the selecting process that was used for these particular candidates. Women who were thought to match the criterion were encouraged to have children with men who were similar to them, regardless of whether or not they were married. Dr. Karl Brandt was in charge of supervising the overall selection procedure. Brandt chose the women who would participate in the program based on a number of factors, including their physical attractiveness, the history of their families, and their political opinions. Women who were deemed to be racially pure were frequently required to undergo medical examinations in order to verify that they were qualified to participate in the educational program. A significant amount of effort was put out by Lebensborn in order to raise the birth rate of Aryan children. The program encouraged women to have as many children as they could, and it offered financial and material assistance to mothers who were expecting children who were considered to be of racially pure origin. One of the most upsetting parts of the Lebensborn program was the fact that it was responsible for the mistreatment of women and children who were housed in Lebensborn facilities, as well as the forceful pregnancy of children. Significant amounts of physical and psychological torture were inflicted against a great number of women who were forced to have children against their will. In addition, the children who were delivered at Lebensborn institutions were subjected to mistreatment and abuse. They were frequently isolated from their families and communities and allowed to grow up in houses that were purposefully meant to instill a sense of Nazi philosophy in their children. The international reach of the Lebensborn program. There were a number of countries that participated in the Lebensborn initiative. It was not just concentrated in Germany. Almost immediately, it expanded to neighboring countries that were occupied by the Nazis. There were around 8,000 children born to Norwegian women and German fathers in Norway, which was one of the countries that participated in the program the most. During World War II, the Norwegian government had initially attempted to maintain a neutral stance. Nevertheless, in 1940, Germany invaded Norway, and the country was subsequently occupied by the Nazis. It didn't take long for the Lebensborn program to establish a strong presence in Norway, where it managed a network of nurseries and houses for pregnant women. A particularly harsh program was implemented in Norway, where German soldiers frequently used coercion to conceive children from sexually active women. During the course of the program, a significant number of children who were born in Norway were removed from their mothers and brought up by families from Germany. Additionally, the program was implemented in Austria, where it was utilized to encourage the adoption of children who possessed Aryan features, notably those children who were fathered by members of the SS. Increasing the number of children who were considered to be racially pure and developing a pool of potential followers for the Nazi Party were the objectives of this plan. The unsettling controversies of the Lebensborn program. As a result of its racial and eugenicist goals, the Lebensborn program was marked by a great deal of controversy. There was widespread criticism directed toward the program's emphasis on eugenics and selective breeding from a large number of individuals, both inside and outside of Germany. A significant number of individuals viewed the program as a harsh and inhumane attempt to coerce women into bearing children and to establish a society that is founded on racist views. As a result of the program, human rights were deemed to have been violated, and the fundamental ideals of equality and respect for all individuals were deemed to be challenged. Because of their involvement with the program and the fact that they were sometimes born to mothers who were not married, many children who were born during the Lebensborn program were subjected to discrimination and stigma after the war. A considerable number of these children were dismissed by their families and communities, and they were forced to contend with a variety of obstacles throughout their lives. In many cases, they had a difficult time gaining acceptance and a sense of belonging, and many of them were subjected to persistent hostility and discrimination. The legacy left behind by the Lebensborn program is a complicated one that continues to be a contentious topic of discussion. The complicated origins and implications of the program, as well as the manner in which it mirrors greater themes of racism and discrimination, continue to be a source of contention for a great number of individuals on the planet. Uncovering the legacy of the Lebensborn program. In addition, opposition to the Lebensborn initiative originated from countries other than Nazi Germany. By attacking and destroying Lebensborn facilities, Allied forces attempted to compromise the initiative and weaken its effectiveness. Furthermore, a great number of people all over Europe identified the program as a potential danger to their own communities and made concerted efforts to oppose it. Following the conclusion of the war, the destruction of Lebensborn infrastructure and documentation was a primary priority for soldiers from the Allies. In addition to the demolition of facilities in their physical form, Allied forces made efforts to remove any and all traces of the program's existence. This action was taken in order to forestall the possibility of the program being lauded or imitated in the future. Complicated and multifaceted is the legacy that the Lebensborn initiative has left behind. On the one hand, the program serves as a reminder of the atrocities that were committed by the ideology of the Nazi Party, as well as the significance of fostering tolerance and respect for all individuals. On the other side, the program has left an indelible mark on the long-term conversations that have taken place on eugenics and reproductive rights. The ethical implications of genetic engineering and other forms of selective breeding are frequently at the focus of contemporary discussions concerning eugenics. The Lebensborn program serves as a jarring reminder of the possible risks associated with these practices, as well as the significance of ensuring that they are utilized in a responsible and ethical manner. To a same extent, the legacy of the Lebensborn initiative is still being felt in arguments around reproductive rights. It is very evident that the program violated the rights of women and children, and it serves as a timely reminder of the need of safeguarding these rights under any and all circumstances. Not only is it important that we remember the history of the Lebensborn program and learn from it, but it is also important that we do so in order to commemorate the memory of those who were killed by it and to prevent such tragedies of a similar nature from happening in the future. We can strive toward creating a world that is more just and equitable for all people if we acknowledge the perils of extreme ideology and the significance of safeguarding the rights of women and children. We hope you liked this video. Watch another video here.